Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I've got the second book of Timothy Zahn's Thrawn series entitled Thrawn Alliances, that we're going to talk about today. And this book is fascinating because the characters that we know in our Star Wars world, Luke, Leia, Han, Lando, Darth Vader, even to the prequels of Padme, these tie-in novels, these tie-in stories, if they're done well, they make us appreciate these characters even more. And in this story specifically, Timothy Zahn does a good job of helping you see how the character of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader are still connected. It was difficult for me when I was younger to appreciate Anakin Skywalker from the prequels, Darth Vader from the original trilogy. To me, they weren't the same character. One was utterly evil and almost hit a reset. And what Timothy Zahn does a really good job of doing is getting you behind the mask and letting you see how the same struggles that Anakin has of anger, of rashness, of a incessant thirst for control, which leads him to make the deal with the devil, the Emperor, are very much evident in the flashback scenes in this book, as well as the current scenes of Darth Vader. What Zahn does as well is he juxtaposes two storylines with the same central character of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader in the same location of Batuu, but in different eras. When Anakin goes there during the prequels to rescue Padme, and then when he returns in what's going to be this sort of intra time, but after episode 3 and before episode 4. Canonically, this is going to be right in the middle of Star Wars Rebels. So this story, Thrawn Alliances, takes place between the 3rd and the 4th season. In the 4th season is when Dave Filoni is going to bring Thrawn into the animated series, and you're going to see him on the screen for the first time. And so this is sort of the story that brings Thrawn from what the Emperor was having him do, even behind the scenes, into the spotlight, where he's going to go to Lothal and deal with Arinda Pryce, returning character from the first story, where he's going to deal with what she's doing on Lothal as governor. Which is the deal that she was able to strike at the end of the first book with Tarkin, and she's able to get that governorship and return to Lothal, to Price Mining, and Thrawn's going to then no longer be helping her rise through the ranks, even in his own way. During, of course, the Rebels, he's actually going to be sort of opposing her and her agenda, which will be interesting, and I encourage you to check that out. But what this story does so well, again, is it shows Anakin Skywalker in both iterations of himself, but shows that continuity of person. One of the individuals that I like to follow, Jonathan Koan, and I'll tag his channel in the description, and maybe even tag the video. I believe that he addresses this. He brings up an interesting point that probably the weakness of this story is that the character Thrawn needs a very vivacious secondary character. He needs a sidekick that has a big personality. Eli Vanto in the first book and the third book is that perfect character. He's quirky, he's energetic, he's got a lot of talking as part of his character. He helps explain and interpret. He is really the Watson to Thrawn's Sherlock, or I guess Thrawn's Moriarty, I guess would probably be the better way to understand him. He's not in this story. And so that is one area that probably is a weakness, because you have a very internal thinking, analytical mind of Thrawn, who is assessing and interpreting things without saying a word. And you have Darth Vader, who is the epitome of silent, boding, fearful, fear-inducing character. And when both of them interact, it's just a lot of silence. And you sort of pick up on that. Their scenes are just sort of lacking the dialogue that, well, it sounds funny, but that you would expect to have in a novel. It's just not there. Again, Zahn does a great job, and you get that, but the Anakin Skywalker side of it, you got a lot of dialogue, because it's Anakin. But the Vader side of it, there's not that play back and forth. So that's probably one area that's lacking. Jonathan Cohn brings that up, and again, I'll link that below. But essentially, what is the plot? What is the storyline? In the flashbacks, Anakin is going to save Padme. She's gone on an investigative journey to this planet, and the Separatists are there, and she finds herself in need of rescuing. She probably doesn't, and honestly, she's much more competent, but what Zahn does well is show how when Anakin senses and even knows, in some senses, that Padme is in danger, he loses all rationality, and anything of precaution, anything of serenity, of peace, the ways of the Jedi, those are jettisoned to protect Padme and to save her and to control that situation. Anakin meets, I'll bounce back here for a second, Anakin meets Thrawn, who is observing this planet for the Chiss Ascendancy, and they go in together to, Thrawn is scoping out this planet for the Chiss, Anakin is there for Padme, and the way they go about things, you can tell Thrawn is impressed by the ability, the capability, but not impressed by Anakin's methods. Let's jump forward then to the current story, which is where the primary bit of the novel is located, and the Emperor is furious that Thrawn has let the rebels escape him. And it's going to tie into Star Wars Rebels. He has let them escape one too many times. And so in order to earn back the grace and the favor of the Emperor, he sends him and Vader on a joint mission back to Batuu to do some research and to essentially get a medal and to understand some of the mining that's been taking place on that planet. And so watching them go about it, what's the coolest part of the story, obviously, in the Star Wars world, Darth Vader is this character that when you see continuity, the Jedi are unaware that the Sith have returned until the Phantom Menace, when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan face Darth Maul. But even then, some of the outside canonical literature, there's still some doubting. Count Dooku, he is there, and they recognize that he is turned, he's serving, but they don't know who, they don't even know what. They just know that he's a fallen Jedi. And really, Vader is going to be the Sith. And so just to see who is this character, the fear, we'll see this in Rebels. Filoni does a good job of when the Grand Inquisitor dies, spoiler alert, or does he? His falling line is that some things are worse than death. And Vader and the fury and the retribution that he brings with himself. All that to say, Thrawn deduces who Vader is. And he does it in a very tentative way, because though Thrawn is not impressed by Vader's methodology, just like he wasn't very impressed by Anakin's methodology. He's not stupid. He knows that he will be crushed in an instant if Vader decides to. And so he hesitantly, and as almost a show of respect, indicates to Vader, I know, and I'm going to keep this secret because we both know. And that is such a cool scene because the reader, I trust, maybe I'm in the minority, the reader likes Thrawn. The reader he is the anti-hero of this, but he is the protagonist. And you are pulling for Thrawn in this journey. And obviously Vader is Vader. He's the most famous character in Star Wars. And so you have two just massive characters. And as opposed to looking at them as enemies, Zahn does a good job of showing how the reader just gets more of good Star Wars material. So the plot, it's search and rescue, it's mystery, it's redemption, it's exploration, and all the while it's a power struggle. And again, Zahn does a great job of understanding Thrawn's character, how he has to use the skills at his disposal to succeed. And he has a lot of skills. Believe me, he is very, very capable. But Thrawn is also a complex character. He is invested in the Empire as a means to an end. Vader aligned himself to the Emperor as a means to an end. However, Vader was corrupted by the dark side, serves the Emperor as his master. Thrawn never gets to that point. Thrawn is the one who will submit until a better option comes around. And what motivates that option is what is going to help the Chiss ascendancy the best. And that power play of the Emperor toying with Thrawn, using him, promising to give him maybe later what he wants, all the while we know the Emperor is manipulating everything. It's just so cool when you see such powerful, egocentric characters, how they come together and work for a goal, while always backbiting the other, always trying to manipulate, always trying to twist it for your advantage, and thinking you're doing it without the other knowing. And in this book, Star Wars Alliances, you see how things are accomplished at the expense of others, because of others, with others, and sometimes without others, which just furthers the story of Star Wars. So again, I really encourage you, check out Thrawn, the first video that I did, check out the book. If you've not read it, you will really enjoy it. Star Wars Alliances, check this out. This is, just up front, this is my least favorite of the trilogy. This would be the third ranked one. However, it's good. It's good because Zahn is good. And ultimately because George Lucas is good. And he does a good job of honoring the characters. So I encourage you to check it out. Check out the other videos on the channel. Thank you for tuning in today to Inkwell and Starlight. And let me know below, who's your favorite Star Wars character? How about we go there? That'd be interesting. Is it your favorite because you relate well with this character? You are amazed at their ability? What is it about this character that's your favorite that draws you to them? And then, what's the next book that we should be reading here in the Star Wars universe? Have you read one? Which one are you reading now? Let me know. Maybe I've read it, maybe I haven't. So again, thank you for being here today, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody on the next video.